If not, and you have any issues, go ahead and make sure you use the chat box, and Susan can help you along the way. Susan, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay, and I also
Okay.
just wanted to remind everybody that we are recording this session for replay for others later, so just be aware that we have started the recording. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Susan. Thank you again for the introduction, and thank you all for joining today. So on our agenda today for our Lunch and Learn, we're going to be discussing some challenges with image review. I'll be reviewing the VPGMI image evaluation system. I'll introduce you or reintroduce you to the self-directed evaluation of your mammographic performance. We're going to review some tools that Volpara provides to improve your positioning skills, and then get you thinking about translating that data back into your clinical practice. And as a current Volpara technologist, you may think of this as kind of like a technologist refresher course. We know as technologists that there is a clinical impact for optimal positioning. And when optimal positioning occurs, the mammogram will maximize the volume of tissue visualized. And this adds benefits for our patient, making cancer more evident, which increases cancer detection rates and reduces recall rates. This also assists in improved triangulation when localizing lesions. Yet, as important as positioning is, it is still the greatest reason for most failures for accreditation. While we can all agree broadly on features to be evaluated for optimal positioning, we don't weigh each of those the same, and we have varied opinions amongst technologists and radiologists. And this impacts how we position, how we evaluate positioning, and how we are evaluated. So why this inconsistency? Well, unlike other body parts, the breast is variable across women and populations, making positioning unique and a challenging task. Unlike a wrist or an ankle that are typically the same, breasts are unique. In fact, they're as unique as each of our patients. As technologists, we also encounter varying and vague guidance. There is little specific guidance on how a mammogram and technologists are to be evaluated. If you'll take a look at some of the language used on this example for the ACR clinical image review sheet, there's poor visualization, the words of sagging, excessive, inadequate. That's not very clear. It's pretty vague. Yet, despite vague guidance and review, it is our responsibility as technologists to provide that optimal mammogram. So a bit of a catch-22 scenario. One solution to this is the Volpara positioning clinical function. It's going to provide an automated software through Volpara Enterprise and allows for images to be objectively evaluated. Every CC and MLO, it provides critical objective performance and feedback to you, the technologist. And all mammograms and technologists are evaluated on the same scale. Whoa. We might want to go ahead and mute, that way everyone can hear the presentation.
To unmute yourself, I apologize. I had to mute everybody.
We go. Can you hear me now?
I apologize. Yes, we can. I have to either mute all or none. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I hope everyone's still following along and able to hear me. Okay.
You're back. Thank you.
Okay, great. And what this does is giving you the ability to review not only areas of improvement, but areas where you are doing well. The focus is to provide this cycle that maintains quality and provides for continual quality improvement, empowering you, the technologist, to take control over your clinical advancement and producing optimal mammography. As you can tell from this model, Volpara provides the heavy lifting for you. We are going to measure all of the metrics, report back the data, provide you with learning tools such as helpful tips and videos so that you can take that back into the room with your patient to advance your skills. And all of this is based on the VPGMI evaluation system. Images are evaluated through a scoring system. The VPGMI system evaluates characteristics or features of the mammogram that we refer to as metrics. And then we assign a score of P for perfect, G for good, M for moderate, and I for inadequate. And here are a few definitions of those. So perfect is a mammogram of excellent work by the technologist. And I think as technologists, we always aim to do excellent work. But with perfect, that means that we have met all of the metrics. For good, this mammogram is of high quality. And in this example, it happens to be missing the pec shape, where the pec should be straight or convex. This is concave. The next is moderate, which is of acceptable quality. And then the last is inadequate. And this is of poor quality. Not that we chose to do poor quality, but we had some extenuating circumstances, body habitus, mobility issues that limited us from obtaining a better image. So I'd like to go ahead and go through these with you. I'm going to go through the metrics on the CC and the metrics on the MLO. The first one is nipple in profile metric. Now this is where the nipple needs to protrude from the skin line. As you can tell, it is protruding from the skin line on the left CC, but is missing on the right. And in Volpara, we're going to provide you pathway cards that have all 4 metrics that we'll be talking about today on the CC. And it will also identify if you are missing those metrics. What we'll also provide is in the study viewer, we'll have all of the metrics listed for you with an X if you miss the metric and a check mark if you are making the metric. The second metric on the CC is nipple midline, and there are 3 scoring levels for this. It either meets the metric, it is slightly exaggerated, or excessively exaggerated. On the left is an example where it meets the metric. Then we have a slight exaggeration. And in the study viewer, it will just document exaggerated here for you. And then if it's excessively exaggerated, it will document excessive exaggeration. The third is the CC-P&L metric. And the P&L must be within 1 cm of the P&L on the MLO view. The fourth is cutoff, and we evaluate for cutoff medial or lateral on the CC. Let's go ahead and review the 7 metrics on the MLO. We evaluate for nipple and profile on the MLO as well. We also evaluate for IMF. And again, this is another one where we have different scoring levels. It's either present, like it is in the image here, or it could be on the left where it is obscured by a fold, or on the right where it's completely missing. We also evaluate for cutoff on the breast on the MLO, on the inferior part of the breast. The pec to PNL. So the pec muscle must extend inferiorly, there we go, down to at least 1 cm above the PNL. We evaluate pec shape, and this has to be convex or straight to meet the metric. And in this example, it's concave. So on the study viewer, the X would show up for the right MLO. We also evaluate the adequate pec. And for technologists that have been on Volpara for a while, you may know that this was the most recently updated metric. And we had changed some of the scoring. So now we have multiple levels. We either have it where the metric is met, in this example here, or it could be wide, which is too wide of the appropriate angle, too narrow, which is missing tissue, or a short pack. And it will be identified in the image viewer for you if you do not meet the metric, how it was evaluated. We also evaluate for skin folds up into the pec muscle, as you can tell here. So how does this all work? We take those CC and MLO images. We're going to segment the pec muscle, skin line, and nipple, measure those, evaluate the metrics for you, and assign a score to each image, and then a score to each study. I think it's also really important to remember that there are some critical metrics, and these impact the volume of breast tissue captured on both the CC and MLO. And these would be frequently cited in clinical image deficiencies. And if you do not meet one of the critical metrics, you will see a downgrade in the VPGMI score. Here is an example of some metrics on the some metrics on the CC that would result in a moderate score. This is the CC-PNL length not met. And then the other one is excessive exaggeration. On the MLO, no higher than a moderate image score will be met if you're missing the IMF, you have a narrow pec, or you don't meet the pec to PNL. Here are some critical metrics that would result in an inadequate
Jen,
image.
hold on just one second. Looks like
Sure.
you need to reshare your screen again. Somebody must have clicked on the share button again. So if you could just go ahead and
Okay, sure.
take back control. Thank you. Okay, we can see your screen again. Folks, if you could just be sure that you're not accidentally hitting the share button or turning your camera on, that'll be helpful. Oh, somebody just did it again.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead.
Sorry.
It looks like I'm going to have to go ahead and just close this really quickly.
Okay.
And then reopen just a moment.
Okay, no problem. Well, while I got a minute, I'm going to remind everybody that in order for you to receive your CE credit at the end of this session, we're going to need you to complete the evaluation form, which I will be posting in the chat room at the end of the session. I'll put a link up. Everybody who attends, if you're sharing a computer, that's fine, but each of you will need to fill out the evaluation form. Also, if you joined and you didn't register, I don't have your information for your certificate, you'll also need to complete a registration form. So again, if you could, I'll just check down on your screen on your toolbar and make sure you're not accidentally clicked on the share button or your camera is turned off. That would be helpful. All right, Jen,
Okay, Susan, can you see my screen again? Excellent.
We can see your screen again. Thank you.
And you can hear me. That's great.
I can hear you. We're all good.
Well,
Back
thank
to
you.
where you were.
So now that we have discussed PGMI, reviewed the metrics, let's talk about how we can use that information and translate that in some of the charts and graphs that you will see in Volpara. We encourage that you start simply, and this helps by knowing your scores. On the right, let's take a look at the perfect and good images over time. I want you to know that we group those perfect and good images over time to create your positioning performance score. Whereas the quality score, which is your performance score, we combine the positioning and your compression score. And knowing where you're standing really helps you set those realistic goals. We also provide some benchmarks. And if you'll take a look at the quality score, this black line is where the average Volpara mammographer is, and that is at a 2.1. And then the 90th percentile is at a 2.5. It's also nice to know how you are doing within your peers. So we are able to give you information about how the organization is doing with their positioning scores, and then you can see where you are in comparison. For positioning, the average score is at a 49.1, and then the 90th percentile would be at a 61.4. We also think that it's a good idea as we start simply is to select one metric at a time. You can pick one metric from the CC and one metric from the MLO, or just choose one view to start with. And then once you've reached that goal, then you can move on to the next. So I'd like to go ahead and take a little bit of time here. I'm going to open this up just a little bit. My screen should change. It's now on the technologist dashboard. This is our demo site. And Susan, can you confirm that it's updated into the technologist dashboard?
We can see it. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so ladies, if you could focus on this image positioning hotspots, this is where the CC and MLO views are with those bubbles on each. On the CC view, those 4 bubbles represent the 4 metrics. And then on the MLO, it's the 7 metrics. You'll notice with this new update that we have a color difference. So if you are missing the metric between 0 and 25% of the time, the color is going to be blue. So if I hover over nipple, knot, and profile, I am missing this metric about 14% of the time. On the color chart, you'll notice that if I'm missing this more often, now it becomes purple. And then we also have a magenta and red. So the more that you miss it, the kind of brighter the color becomes up here. So as a technologist coming into the technologist dashboard, and if you're reviewing your image positioning hotspots, the first thing that you'll want to notice is that if you have any of these purples, let's go ahead and pick one on each to serve as your goal of improvement. So as I hover over the CC-P&L not met, I notice that I'm missing that 27% of the time. I also know that's one of the critical metrics, so I'm missing tissue. On the MLO, I see 2 of the purples, so I'm going to hover over the pec shape, which I'm missing at 44% of the time. And I'm also missing the IMF, and I'm really close to turning that purple one blue, but I also know that that is a critical metric and something I need to work on. So as I said, something you need to work on, I'm going to show you where you can find those tools to make that improvement. So from your homepage, you'll want to go over to the left-hand side to the menu and access your positioning page. Of course, once it opens, there we go. The positioning page, this is going to break this down for you in the PGMI positioning results. We'll break that down for you in the CC and in the MLO views. For now, let's start with our CC. Now, CC-P&L, that was going to be a metric that is critical, so we're going to find those examples in the moderate. What Volpara provides you are some images that are examples of where you are missing the P&L. I can go ahead and click on one of those images. And if I want to review the image, this is in our study viewer, I can go through the metrics, identify that yes, my P&L was missed here, but if I want to look at them all together, which as a technologist, I like to look at all 4 of my images if I'm reviewing them, I can click on the study PGMI, all 4 images will come up. After I'm done reviewing that image, I can go ahead and click the close, and it takes me right back to the positioning page. I want you to take a look also at these pathway cards. This first one says 41% of my moderate CCs are because of this P&L. So this is where I know I can make a pretty impactful change to not only my patients, but also my positioning performance. So I'm going to head over to the area where it says Learn More and CC-P&L. I'm going to close this for just a moment because when you come in the beginning, yours may look different than mine, and it may just be this cap with the 1. I'm going to open up that cap. I'm going to click the Read More button. This is going to give me some bolded text. These are the tips that you can read through that will help you make improvements on your P&L. And then we have a video, takes just a couple of minutes. In fact, this is a 2-minute video from Louise Miller. It's one of her positioning videos to help us improve with the P&L. I can take the information that I've read and take the information from the video back into the room with me, with my patient, to see if I can make any improvements. We also identified that we are missing the IMF on our moderates. So I can do the same on our moderates, on our MLOs. I can do the same for the MLO when I come down here. I click the moderate. I know that my IMF is missing, and these are some examples if I'd like to open those up. I can head over to the Learn More, click the Read More button, and on IMF, I'm going to take a look at these tips down here and watch that video. The videos, like I said, are only a few minutes long, pretty quick, and have some great information in them. One little tip I want to show you before I go back onto the home page is the perfect. Now, these are examples of some perfect images. Always nice to see perfect images, but one of the reasons I like the perfect MLO and the perfect CC are for these reasons. The perfect MLO is going to have all 7 metrics here with a little bit of information so that you can be reminded of what those metrics are. You can also click the Read More, and now all of the tips and tricks are bolded. And then you also have a video from start to finish on how to capture the perfect MLO.
Sorry, Jen, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody again.
Okay.
I apologize. I'm going to put everybody on mute again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. And then on the same thing on the CC, has all 4 metrics, and it has the ability to click the Read More, look through the tips and tricks, and watch the video. So now that you've been able to read through the information and watch the videos, you can come back to your homepage, and then every week you can come back in, hover over that, and see if that number is starting to decrease, which means you're making improvements. It's been shown that the more often that you're logging in and evaluating your performance using the tools, the more that you will improve. If you'll take a look in the upper left-hand corner with me I'm going to go ahead and just open that up so it stays on the performance. This is where your quality score is from 0 to 4. And then if you hover over the black line, that will be able to provide you with the average and the 90th percentile. In regards to performance, let's go ahead and go to the performance page. Earlier, I said you have the ability to find out how you're doing against your peers, because really knowing where you stand helps you guide you on your goals. The performance page is going to be in 2 sections with the target compression and your perfect and good positioning. On top will be your organization positioning score, and then your positioning score will be listed below. I do want to point out this is where you can use your filters in Volpara. If you would like, you can always filter out your implants, and you will see your scores change just slightly for both you and your organization. I'm going to go ahead and click the home button here. So as review, it's always great to be able to come in here, identify where you need to make some improvements, use the tools on the positioning page, and then come back in every week to see how you're making your improvements. I am going to head back into the PowerPoint real quick. There we go. So let's talk about some scoring analytics. The scoring analytics are based on research and learning from a vast database, and it keeps growing. It's over 4 million studies. And we also use customer feedback. But in general, scoring results will be on target with your actual performance. And you can use those scores to guide your improvement. Of course, there are going to be some occasional disagreements, and we expect those. There's going to be some individual technologist opinions. There may be some metrics that don't exist yet or some functionality. Here is an example of what we probably called a perfect right CC, and there's a skin fold. We are working on the skin fold metric, but it's not available yet. And then we may have some scoring errors. And one of those is the segmentation, and this is one of the root causes of the errors. And I'll just go through this real quick with you here. On the left breast, you can see the fold in the pec, but it was identified as the actual pec instead of looking at the entire pec line here. Because of this error in the segmentation, it resulted in a narrow, adequate pec. Now, if you see this happen, of course, we want that feedback because your feedback helps us improve. And talking about improvement, doing technologists improve? Yes, technologists improve. This is an example of when a technologist took her perfect and good, her positioning performance, from a 25% to a 38%, and continually works to improve. So I just want to say thank you so much for the presentation and for attending today. I hope the information is helpful and you're being able to take that back into your practice, logging in, seeing where you are so you can set some goals and make those improvements.
So before everybody starts to leave, if I could just remind you all, thank you, Jennifer, first of all, you did an amazing job. That I have placed a couple of links in the chat on the session. One says registration, one says evaluation. If you did not complete a registration form, please click that link. If you joined without registering, maybe you're sitting sharing a computer with somebody, please make sure you register. I can't do your CE certificate without it. Then there's also an evaluation link that's also up in the chat session as well. So if you could please click on those links before you leave, then you'll have the link. One is, again, the first one says registration, the second one says evaluation. So we also have some information there up on the screen that Jennifer is leaving. It's success@volparasolutions.com. That's the email to get all your questions answered, set up a training session, one-on-one, extra team session for you. Let us know what we can do to make you be more successful. So again, I know people are posting thank you messages, so I'm just going to keep posting the registration and the evaluation link in the chat window so that everybody can see it. If you miss it, email me at success@volparasolutions.com. Jennifer, what can I say? You did an amazing job. That was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
We have
Thank you
recorded
very
the
much.
session. We'll make it available if anybody wants to listen to it later. So I thank you again for your time, and look for the certificates in the next couple of weeks. We'll have them out to everybody, so just bear with us. It takes a couple weeks to get those done and out. We'll email them to you. If you registered and finished the evaluation, we will send your certificate to you. So again, thank you very much. And everybody have a great day. I'll stick around for another minute or two to make sure that I keep posting the evaluation and the registration link in the chat window. So thank you all very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Susan, for hosting.
Thank you.